Okay, so this is an introduction to feral philosophy, muscle, mind, and meaning. So, what is this? This is a new Substack that's coming. It's a new YouTube channel. Frankly, I think it's going to be a movement. So, my name is Mark Walsh. I'm the person who's putting this together. A bunch of good advice. Sometimes that's the pretend fun name I go by. The Substack launches in September, and we have pretty good support from those guys. And it's going to be launched on a pretty big mailing list. And, I've had a podcast for the last 5 years doing embodiment stuff. So that's very helpful as well for the launch. What is it all about? How men can build strength of character through strength of body, how to gain wisdom, find meaning, and not go insane, kill yourself in this techno-fragile, decadent, nihilistic age. We're looking at the question how to lift, but in the bigger sense, how to lift our emotions, how to lift our spirits, how to lift ourselves, our way of being, our way of life. So this is what I am interested in. And, where's this coming from? Well, the kids are not okay, right? Like the levels of suicide, drug addiction, despair, general, gender confusion, general craziness, particularly around young men, is crazy, crazy high at the moment. And I've done many things in my life, and this feels like the thing I really want to devote myself to now. Probably the reason for this is, coming from my own mental health issues when I was young. I had a cousin who killed himself. I was very close to. And I got a lot from the martial arts, primarily from Aikido, later yoga, other sort of different body mind arts. And that really helped me in my own mental health and to develop myself as a person. But what I've become aware of was that just most people don't do those. Most young men, though, weightlifting is way more accessible culturally today. And that's something that's been my primary practice for the last few years. I've also been involved heavily in Ukraine and doing trauma work and mental health work there. So, I think I've got some credentials in doing things at the sharp end of life, as well as, training coaches and business people and other things like that. It's my life. It's boring. I won't go into it, but, safe to say I've worked in war zones and worked in outdoor education, worked with kids a lot, all over the world. I've worked in probably 50 countries now. I'm well known for an embodied approach, working with coaches, particularly life coaches, all sorts of coaches. And I've become interested that we're in this sort of decadent age right now. This is like Fool of Rome kind of stuff. People are nihilistic. Nietzsche's God is dead. Narcissistic. You don't have to go far to see that. Fragile, hedonistic. They're trying to cope with nihilism and hedonism, which doesn't really work. Disconnected from culture, from themselves, disembodied learning, disconnected from meaning and nature. So this basically means that everyone is crazy and the young people are suffering a lot. I think particularly young men, there's this idea that men are toxic, media is pretty anti-male. Young men I see, young women too, but young men are the group I want to help with. I just supported a whole bunch of really cool young women in Ukraine, and it's time for a change, I think. Come back to that, the things that keep us sane. Yeah, and I think young men are drawn to these sort of masculine figures that are putting themselves forward for better and for worse, right? Though they tend to be sort of these Goggins or Jocko, very extreme figures. Sometimes not so healthy, like Mr. Tate, perhaps. And, Jordan Peterson is, I think, an intellectual who's spoken to many young men, though perhaps what he lacks is a praxis, is a way of being to improve oneself. And for me, weightlifting, the gym, strength training, all these aspects are just absolutely ideal for this. Often they're thought of merely as sort of aesthetics, there's the risk of narcissism, body dysmorphia, etc. But I think your basic vehicle with the gym is just a fantastic vehicle for many things. Yes, aesthetics, it's okay to be aesthetic, it's okay to have a nice appearance. But even with that, what is really attractive in men to women is confidence and virtue, being a good man. And this is an old idea, like Socrates talked about this. In my own training in Asian arts, as well as weightlifting, it's a totally normal idea in Japan. The idea that we build ourselves through a dojo, through a practice, whether it be kendo, judo, whatever, aikido in my case, that is a totally normal thing to do. And we can educate oneself through the body. This is a Greek idea. This is completely normal. Like this sculpture I saw on the right here, which was in Italy, the Christian saints, or in this case it was apostles, I think, were often portrayed as quite muscular. It was seen as this connection. Or the saying Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton. British sports were really invented as a way to develop character. They weren't seen as entertainment or money making, like they are now. They've really degraded. but they were seen as character development, as was, the ancient sort of Greek gym tradition. This is in many ways a return to what the gym was, and I think could again be. So saving the gym from its shallowness and really offering men this. So yes, health, of course, we work out for health, but also confidence, self-respect, courage. A lot of young men are lacking purpose, and if you lack purpose, you're likely to get addicted to things. It's not good. Discipline. So yeah, of course, young men want to make money, they want to make a living, but you need discipline for that, and you're not going to get discipline in our fragile world. Of course, aesthetics is part of finding a partner. Great, no problem. But also virtue, building virtues, overcoming despair, anxiety, addictions, loneliness, poverty. These are, when I talk to young men, I was coaching a young man in the gym today, and there's just the despair of being lost, being addicted, whether it's the phone, porns, drugs in many cases. And the mental health stuff is just huge. So feeling of being lost and all these things, for me, hard training is the answer here, but intelligent hard training. So a little bit more to it. We can build skills in the gym, right? So yes, muscles, but also concentration, body awareness, self-regulation capacities. This young man I was coaching today, I was like, yes, this is hard. Yes, life is hard. This is what we're doing. We're learning to self-regulate. We're learning grit. We're learning self-overcoming, maybe Nietzsche would say. And also the surrender. There's the yin side of things. We'll come to some of these in terms of virtues. Things like moderation. The gym punishes anything other than moderation. The iron doesn't lie, as Mr. Henry Rollins would say. So this, Greek idea of arete, excellence, is there. Courage, it takes courage to get under a 100-kilo bench press or 250 squat, whatever. These are a place you can build virtue. So you say to people, be good, work on yourself. Well, how? The gym for me is a way. If that's our focus, right? So a big question is, how do we optimize gym training for that rather than optimizing it just for aesthetics or, whatever. So we can work through, there's a list of classical virtues we can work through. This can be our focus in the gym rather than simply deltoid development. Yeah. Okay, as I said, not a new idea. The samurai, the Zulus would have recognized this. The Greeks would have definitely recognized this. Not a new idea in any way. But bringing it back in line with modern psychology that I've studied, at the university level. So embodiment, which is a whole field that I'm pretty well known for. It brings in a deeper sense of what the body is. I mean, even something, like spotting, can use that for kindness, for respect. It's not, the gym can be a wonderful place to develop these things, and building, it kind of spreads as well. So what I like about the gym is that, yes, you might go for the muscles, but pretty soon you start looking at your sleep. Like, I really take my sleep much more seriously now. I do the gym more seriously. Stress levels, obviously diet, that's essential if you're going to be lifting. I see people getting into, say, Dr. Mike Israetel, and got on my podcast soon, or Huberman, and they really have to get scientific. They have to learn their rationality skills. Many kinds of wholesome pleasure really sort of spreads out from the actual gym. It's so healthy, rather than just, yes, I lift. Cyclical wisdom, self-care is another aspect. I'll go into that another time. Really, the gym's practice of embodiment. I did a whole written piece that will appear on the Substack when that's published in September, around how it overcomes victimhood. For example, you can't be in the embodiment of a victim and do a bench press or squat. You just can't. It's just not possible. It discourages directly the embodiment of victimhood, and it provides a feedback loop where you go, oh my God, my work is paying off. The work I put in comes back to me in a measurable, simple way. Again, discouraging victimhood. That's just one area that I was writing about. There's many more. What does it actually look like in practicality? Well, doing audios for people pre-gym in terms of intention setting and getting the right mindset for this. The right framing is really important. And afterwards, the word like processing, integration, again, a bit of reflection. I think it's very helpful to sandwich the actual physical practice. Ask people to bring some values to the gym, what they work on from that. There's things I encourage, like lifting with friends, certain kinds of practice, certain things to avoid, like the selfies or sitting there on Facebook or whatever. Yeah, there's inquiries we can do, which you'll see at a certain point on YouTube, which is working like sort of thing, a bench press, like what do you want to push away? What do you want to get out of your life, right? So life purpose, it's what I've found is it's so easy to coach people on topics like life purpose in the gym. So I do one-to-one coaching. I'm also looking at silent disco, where I could have a whole gym full of people on headsets being coached during, they're all doing different things, but I'm coaching them through some of the more philosophical stuff here. So as I said, feral philosophy goes quite deep, looking at various philosophers' takes, whether it be Nietzsche, whether it be Buddha. There's all sorts of people who are very, very relevant to the gym. The key thing is is your training in the gym showing up, making sure you show up differently in your life? Is it changing your life? If not, then, well, maybe we could change the training. So how to optimize exercise, gym strength training for personal growth rather than optimize it for deltoid growth, which, at the end of the day, who really cares about your deltoids, right? It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle. This is how the Japanese view martial arts. They're not interested in fighting. They're interested in character development. So yes, you can coach people, what we call embodied coaching. Take more than this video to explain, but I think there's lots of examples of me coaching people for embodiment just generally on Instagram. That's what I'm best known for, but the gym is a fantastic place for that. Even mysticism, for me, the gym opens up altered states in a very profound way. And, really looking at that as part of what we do, going into flow states, going to trance states. It's the most human thing in the world. And the gym is a regular place to access that. It's reliable in that way. So yeah, we're devotional creatures. What's our practice in service to? Can it be in service to something bigger? I would say yes. That's what feral philosophy is all about. I would like to see less young men despairing, lost, killing themselves, drug addicted, etc. I think the gym is just the best format for that. So that's what we're doing. This little introduction, as I said, is Substack on the way, YouTube on the way, more social media, etc., etc. But hope you've enjoyed this little introduction, and ping me if you want to get involved.